This is my second take because I forgot to hit record the first time, and it's probably still gonna take some working out. I'm figuring it out as I go along. It's crazy times out here, people. I'm like super. My schedule is swamped. I'm overextended. I'm learning how to manage that and trying to figure out how I'm gonna work in the future on being less stressfully busy because it's not fun. Yeah, you have to have some space in life to actually enjoy it happening, it turns out. So, hope here's to getting some space in life, in my life, soon, so I'm less stressed out. So it's Tuesday, June 20th. This episode's gonna come out a week from today, but I got a whole bunch of stuff going on that's all gonna be done by the time this comes out. I'm going to be in Deer Creek seeing Dead and Company next Tuesday. That'll be my last show on the final tour. So keep me in your hearts as we are stomping our feet down at the creek with the boys next Tuesday. And then I ain't doing nothing for July. I mean, I'll be releasing a couple episodes of this, but yeah, I'm gonna be chilling in July, so like don't text me unless you really have to. But at the end of July, the 29th of July, is the next Healing Hands Night Market. And then July 30th, in the morning, we're going to be having a dance at Lakeside Park. We'll be doing a morning dance. We're going to get together and I'm going to lead a little asana warm up. We'll do some yoga stretches to get ourselves limbered up in the wee hours of the morning. I can't. I'm not sure if we're going to start that at 10:30. If we're going to start at 11, we'll definitely be going at 11. So yeah, that was July 29th, night market at Healing Hands. July 30th, morning dance at Lakeside. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who came to the promenade dance that was a couple weekends ago, and then the solstice dance that happened last Friday. Both of those were super awesome. So if you were there, thanks for adding to the fun. I had a really good time at both of those, so I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff like that in the future, and I hope that you are there. Thank you, Los Lemons. Go get some Indiana tea. And if you would sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation I had with my friend Brandon Williams. All right. Holding down the fort. Thank you to Los Lemons for the intro music. And thank you to Tom at Indiana Tea for making good tea. I'm drinking the sweet tea. Brandon, you're drinking, this is fresh. This is a really new flavor. The Smooth Criminal.
That's right, worldwide release.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Worldwide release right here in Fort Wayne,
Yeah, it is a
Indiana.
smooth. Oh, I see. Because
Uh-huh.
the scarecrow's leaning over, like.
You
In,
got it.
I
You got
got
it.
it.
Isn't that clever? Yeah, the labels he he makes them he puts like little Easter eggs in them. So this one has like turtles for Turtle Town because it's from Churubusco. There's like a UFO because apparently there's like a UFO thing around there, like a story about it. And yeah, someone knew more about it than me, but he sells them at the farmers market. I played the farmers market a few weeks ago and got to talk to him for a little bit. He's got a really cool truck that he tows his like really cool camper down to
Oh,
the
badass.
farmers market. He's pretty badass. And the tea is damn good. So thanks Tom for making good tea that we're drinking right now. So Brandon Williams, longtime listener,
That's right.
first
First
time
time guest.
guest.
That's right.
So I know this is a big deal for you.
That's right.
So
It's like I'm in the investigation room, you know. I can't tell if you're the good cop or the bad cop, but somebody else is gonna walk in the door. I
mhm.
know.
Yeah, that's the suspense I'm trying to keep up.
Keep
You
up. You
never
want
know.
intensity on a razor's edge here.
That's right. I installed a dangling bulb light in the middle of my apartment living room just for this occasion.
Yeah, we're in a basement.
Mhm.
There's all cement, bodily fluids in a corner. You know.
Yeah, yeah. We don't know what's chained up in the next room over, and we don't want to know. And so, you better be good.
I'll try my darndest.
Good, good. I'm sure you'll be all right. I'm sure I won't have to be too rough on you. So let's see. We met at the School of Rock
Sure
when I
did.
met Kyle,
Mm-hmm.
and you were part of the ensemble for Dementia. If anyone listened to that episode with Kyle Smith, K.
Friend of the
Edward
show, Kyle Smith.
Smith, yeah,
Yeah.
friend of the show, Kyle Smith, K. Edward Smith, for those of you who know him professionally. And yeah, the Dementia show was really cool. What did you play? You played guitar and glockenspiel.
That's
Is
it
that it?
because
Very
the glockenspiel is like the main melodic motif device through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what made Kyle grace me with such important things for me to mess up, but he sure did.
Well, you can like actually read music, right?
Yeah, so
That
that's
helps.
probably
That's probably
why.
why you
That's
picked
probably
you.
why when we was trying to
Yeah.
find people willing to do this crazy show for free,
Mm-hmm.
um, with little rehearsal time and blah blah blah, he was like, "Well, Brandon knows how to read music. I'll give him the important stuff."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we had a nice little group of people.
Oh, it was a great time.
Mhm. And let's see what else. What else? We're in Dead Man's Dance
Yeah, our
together.
fun
We have
little
a band
band.
that plays when we can get together. And so, like, how'd you get into music? When did you start playing guitar?
So guitar was second. First was
Oh,
bass
okay.
actually.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Originally a bass player. So I'm a true bass player
Tight.
opposed to a guitar player who plays bass. But it was probably I mean started was probably around however old a person is when they're in sixth grade. I don't know how
Okay.
old a person is that time
You're like
period.
12,
Something like that.
11 or 12.
11, 12.
Yeah, they're
I think
about.
so. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's when I started bass, and then started getting lessons for bass around like eighth grade, I think. So I like dibble dabbled for a couple of years, and then was like, all right, he's taking it serious enough. Like, let's you can get lessons now,
Cool.
type of thing. So, and then I started picking up guitar a couple of years into bass, and then by college time, my guitaring was starting to take over my bassing. Though I was still getting a lot more gigs in town playing bass and playing guitar, just because it's harder to find good bass players than good guitar players. So, uh, yeah, and I mean, I think I originally picked it up because I wanted to seem cool and interesting, and that's what cool and interesting people do is they play music. So I was like,
Hmm.
cool, I'll try that.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, but
It's not going to make you less interesting. I mean,
true.
in some areas, it might. I'm sure to some people, like some areas of music, if you go into that, it'd be less interesting. Thinking like pit orchestra musicians. But then also to other people, that
That's
shit is
very
super
cool.
interesting.
I
Like,
remember hearing a report about the people who played in Phantom for like 30 years straight or
oh,
whatever, and like the
dude.
weird relationship they have. It's like its
Oh
own
my
little
God.
world. So I mean, it's definitely cool. And you definitely have to know your shit in order to get into a
Yeah.
pit orchestra. So
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
for sure.
I did that too in high school. I was in the
Oh,
pit
cool.
every year, which was it's. I mean, playing in pits is super fun, and like really demanding. So it's like it's a little bit stressful, but then it's like this constant go in the flow because like especially when I'm playing bass, And then one time in college, I was playing percussion. So, and even the percussion, you'd think you'd have to play less, but no, I've played basically every song. And bass, I definitely play every song. So it's just like you just gotta, you mess up one thing that was important. It's just, oh well, you got to turn the
Hmm.
page, and like there's an hour and a half of show left for you to get
Yeah.
through. So you can't really linger too long on any mistakes or successes because you got to turn the page, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, it's cool. And then that's how I really learned how to read music is because I had to.
Oh,
So that's what really kind of kicked my butt into gear as far as that goes.
shit. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that forces you to learn
Oh yeah, it's
really well.
like,
Oh
oh, you want to learn
man.
how to read music? Hey, how about you sight read this 200-page
Yeah.
piece of music then? And I said, okay.
What was like the show, or like what were some of the shows you did?
The first one was Crazy for You, which is just a hodgepodge of George Gershwin tunes all put together. The show's really bad. Music's really hard because it's all Gershwin. And for whatever reason, my divine wisdom as a 14-year-old was like, I'm also going to try to do this while playing upright the whole time. So, which
God.
was also new to me at the time and something I wanted to learn how to do. So I really pushed myself into it. That was the only time, the first and only time I decided to do that. Uh,
You learned that
then
lesson.
Little Women was one of the other shows. Uh, there was one that was like a weird fairy tale situation, retelling fairy tale thing. I don't remember it. It's not a cool one. It's not like Into the Woods or something
Uh-huh.
like really cool. It's like a weird. I don't even know what it was.
Off brand
Yeah,
into the
off
woods.
brand. It was. I think even in the book, it was like somebody's senior project who became like a bigger named,
Okay.
like they're not playwrights, but whatever you call people who make musicals. It was like their literal senior project that they did, and then I was hired back to play a couple of shows too, which I don't remember. One was something James and the Giant Peach
Oh, okay.
and stuff like that, and I don't.
Okay.
And then especially when I was being hired back, I was just in for dress rehearsal and performance, so I like literally remember nothing about them. I couldn't tell you
Yeah.
a single song. I couldn't tell you if it was
Oh
hard or
man.
easy. I just
Uh-huh.
did it and I was out of
Uh-huh.
there. So
Is that like after you
I
graduated
graduated.
college?
No,
Or
even
that's
high
high
school I was being
school?
hired back while I was
Oh,
being in
okay.
college.
Okay. Okay.
And then in college, I
So
played
the
guitar and
pressure was pretty low.
percussion. In college, I played percussion, Wizard of Oz, and guitar in the Suzical, which is actually kind of a fun show. And it's the first time playing guitar in a pit,
Oh,
which was a
cool.
good time because then, I mean, it was still, I had like two or three songs where I didn't have to play. So I'm like, man, this is the life. I
Nice.
get to
Uh-huh.
not play for a couple songs. This is crazy.
Yeah, that is the life.
And I'm
It's
only
a good
like
job.
important, like really important for like one song and then like three moments. The rest of the time, I'm just kind of filling things out. So if I'm not confident, I can just like not play.
I feel like that's how a lot of like Broadway, like musical guitar parts are. They're mostly like kind of filler instrumentation. Like it's unless it's like a rock opera or something, or like something that is purposefully guitar driven, it's a much more laid back part of the whole ensemble.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're backing up the piano player at that point. You're filling
Mm-hmm.
out
Mm-hmm.
because they're busy playing the melodies for everybody, so you're kind of holding back a little bit more foundation for them most of the time. And then especially with a lot of contemporary musicals and stuff like that, it plays more of a part. With like they want to have like a singer songwriter type number or like a cutesy acoustic number, or they want to have
Mm-hmm.
like something rocking, or like there's one in Suzical that does like a 70s Isley Brothers, like, you bring out the watch
Oh, cool.
the thing the whole time, which is super fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Neat. Well, that's cool. I didn't actually know that you did that. That you like played a whole bunch of pit pit shows, pit parts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something I like to do more, but especially as that's you know, as far as that goes, there's like three, four guys who are just like that's their thing. Especially
Hmm.
a town like Fort Wayne where there's only
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
people to go around, and then for different productions, whether it's different smaller theaters and stuff, there's only so much money to pay. So
Hmm.
a lot of smaller productions will just have like a piano player and a drummer, and that's
Hmm.
it because that's besides paying other people to do other things in tech, like the dollars are spread so thin that like they
Mhm.
can only really afford unless someone wants to volunteer for 30 hours of rehearsal and performance. Which
Mhm.
I mean, for people, especially if you want like good production, you're not going to find unless they're your significant other, somebody willing
Yeah.
to come in and commit that type of time who's good enough that
Mhm.
would really be that much of a benefit to add them into the
Mhm.
show.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely for sure. I've kind of gotten out of that world the last couple of years. Haven't done any theater stuff, which is fine by me. I'm keeping busy with plenty of other stuff. But that's cool. So like with your do you prefer to play guitar or bass?
Ah,
Do
I
you do
mean,
you like have a something that you gravitate towards?
at this point, I prefer guitar, but I mean, there's nothing more satisfying to me as far as musical relationships go than like a bass player, and if I'm playing bass with a drummer, where we just like immediately like really lock and we're making the same types of decisions and we're listening to each other and we're giving each other space, and there's so much push and pull you can give each other in that relationship that I mean it's just like really rewarding when you find somebody
Mhm.
you really lock in with.
Yeah, yeah, when you find the groove together.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool. I played bass in the band I was in high school, and it was like a pop punk,
Hell yeah.
easy core band. We were pop punk, but we had breakdowns. And I do remember that, like,
Like a post hardcore, you could even
oh
say.
yeah, we called it easy core because it wasn't
Easy core.
hardcore. It wasn't
Easy
hardcore
core.
because we weren't doing all,
We're hard
we
enough.
still had like singing vocals and such, but we had breakdowns and a couple that I'm still proud of to this day for like kids our age coming up with. I'm like, oh, we did all right. And can think of a couple times when, like, yeah, we all synced in and got that rhythm together. There's something about that of like finding that rhythmic, like, sync in an ensemble and a band that just is so fucking cool. It's
Oh,
like nothing like it.
absolutely, and especially like for me, it's because I play even when it's more on like the R&B side of things and funk side of things. So
Mm-hmm.
many things have some degree of swing to them. They're not like a
Yeah.
traditional swing, but it's not perfect, even robotic, even eighths. There's always a little bit of swing. So I'm like you like really sense where each other are, like in
Mm.
that like really specific time sense of like that's exactly where I
Mm.
wanted to put the E or exactly where I want to put the and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And like it's and there's no because usually when you start playing, there's a little bit of like you start laying out where you want to be or listening where the other person wants to be and you try to meet in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
but like those the magical moments where you like started tuning, you're both just like read each other's minds and you put all the notes in the same places. It's just I don't know, there's something so
Mm.
satisfying.
Yeah, yeah, that is really cool. So let's dig in to the 432
That's
thing.
right.
You brought this up in text,
I did.
and for my education and for the education of the audience, give us your piece on this.
432 versus
Yeah,
440.
yeah.
So the quick and easy answer is we made it up and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Is the quick and dirty version. I mean, because so A equals anything
Mm-hmm.
is specifically referencing uh, tuning to uh, equal tempered 12 tone, equal tempered music, which, started around what, 16th century, 15th century, maybe?
Okay.
Because everything before that was actually just intonation, where a piano was
Mm.
in the key of G. You could technically do other things with it, but the ratios, because how equal tempered were, it's like you were talking before about the combinations of harmonies and how they are ratios. So when something's
Mm-hmm.
just in tune, you actually do get close to perfect ratios on your depending on because there's like 100 different ways to just in tune something. Some people do it to the fifth, so the fifths are actually perfectly in tune, and other
Mm.
people do like the thirds, so the thirds are perfectly in tune. Other people do other weird stuff.
Ah, okay.
Pythagoras has a whole thing. His little math cult had a whole thing about what would be the perfect intervals in a major scale.
Yeah.
and stuff like
Okay,
that.
okay.
So up until that point, everything was just in tune. Uh,
Was that
so
like, are you saying like just in
no,
tune?
just intonation.
Okay,
It is fixed, justice system, just
okay.
not like, oh, it's just barely there.
Okay, I was following you there 100%. So like then if someone's tuning to fifth, like to perfect
Hmm.
fifths, let's say on a piano, does that mean they would find the fifths, like the keys that are a fifth apart and tune those perfectly, and then
So
like get the other the keys in between
it's like, yo,
adjusted?
we got our boy Vivaldi over here. He just wrote some hot fire in D minor. We're gonna tune up this harpsichord to D minor. So
Okay.
then it's slightly changing all of the notes around. So everything you do in D minor is as close to perfect. And again, this is also just intonation didn't become a thing until there was instruments with fixed intonation. Because when we talk about the voice or even
Mm-hmm.
like violins and fretless instruments and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, that all intonation can be changed. So that's what
Yeah.
makes some choirs and orchestras really powerful. Even when they're playing crazy modern music, like the intervals are perfect. They
Mm-hmm.
know that, hey, I'm about to hit the
Yeah.
third of this chord, so I actually need to sing, like 15 cents higher than
Yeah.
what that note actually is. They know all that, like the
Yeah.
people who are,
Yeah.
in the New York Philharmonic and shit like that, they know that information, and it's perfect. And they hit the note and they always slide into where it's actually perfect, like
Uh-huh.
almost immediately afterwards. And that's can be like the huge difference between yeah, cool, like this cool, like really crazy high school like age kids playing in an orchestra. Like it sounds really good and they're hitting all the right notes, but then if you hear like the real pros do it, it's like, whoa, that's like, I don't understand how that's different, but that's
Uh-huh.
different. And that's part of the reason why is because it's all perfect
Mm-hmm.
in tune, or as close as we can get
Okay.
to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when stuff like harpsichords and pianofortes and lutes and stuff like that started to come around that were more fixed, there's this
Okay.
period in between this, which was like total Wild West, where it was like where people in especially medieval times were like coming up with like, here's my 17 note system for dividing
Oh
up.
shit.
Yeah, so it was like there was no standard
Uh-huh.
anywhere.
Uh-huh.
So then to bring it back forward is after Justin's Nation, like composers were like, I'm tired of just like, I want to modulate these, because you could pull off, like, say you're tuning to fifths starting at C, so C sounds good, the fifth of C is G, so G sounds pretty good. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the other keys sound good, like an F might sound pretty good, or an
Mm-hmm.
A might sound pretty good. But if you're trying to play something in B flat, like minor, it's gonna be there's gonna be some icky intervals in there. So that's when you want to retune the piano to be something
Oh,
to just in tune to be flat.
okay.
So when
Uh-huh.
people were like, I'm gonna switch keys mid song to these quasi distant,
Mm.
because C and B flat aren't super far apart, but they're far apart enough. But it's like, say I want to start in C and I'm gonna end this in G flat, like they're polar opposites.
Mm.
Uh, as far as the notes involved goes. And I want to be able to make that modulation happen. And I want, okay, everyone settle down. We're gonna, so it's not gonna sound as good anymore
Oh my
when we play
god.
in C, but now you can do this crazy bullshit you want to do, Mr. Composer Man. Finish a song on a new key because one isn't good enough for you anymore. So
Yeah.
this is a system where, and that took a long time to even establish 12 tone equal temperament as a
Uh-huh.
thing.
Okay.
And then once that was the thing, then like a bunch of different places. It almost varied like from place to place. Like so and so who runs this orchestra likes to run.
Mm.
I don't know why they chose to know A. You can probably look it up, but like they like to run their orchestra at A 444. They like it,
Mm-hmm.
tuned up a bit and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And this person over here, they like their stuff, uh, A 420 because they're super dang. And they want,
Yeah.
and like then cities started making standards like in the early 20th century. Paris was on like 436 or something like that, I believe. Can't remember, but so then
Okay.
cities started coming out with standards. And then again, to reiterate, it's also like stuff we made up for specifically Western classical music. When you talk about Western classical music, really only talking about uh, Italy, France, uh, Russia, and Austria slash Germany are
Mhm.
the only places that
Okay.
matter. Everyone else just moves to those places to make music. More or less, when you talk about
Yeah,
classical
yeah,
music,
yeah.
because traditional folk music has its own whole thing going on, and even like American folk music has stuff outside 12-tone equal temperament and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that, specifically in black traditions, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So uh, came about for that reason. And then it was like in the mid 30s, everyone was like, all right, we're going to do it. We're making it standard. A440. Who cares? We're doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just what everyone's been doing. So people don't have to go over and it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I want to play this piece of music. And then you have your piano or whatever. And then everyone comes over and it's like, you need to retune your piano to 440 now, or you need to blah blah blah, or
Mm-hmm.
you need to tune
Mm-hmm.
it up. And I'm like, I'm tired of
Yeah.
tuning this piano.
God,
Just
because
make
that
it,
sucks so
just make it
much.
normal,
Yeah.
please.
So, so it definitely is a whole bunch of drama. There's a lot of drama around this over the
Yeah, which is
centuries,
silly made up
as
stuff.
as there should be, in my opinion. It's still a highly contested issue as I'm
I know,
finding out.
and I mean,
I'm excited to be on this topic. Got
but
my
it's
finger
like
on this
if you
pulse.
like 432, cool. Like, but it's just like it's not gonna have all these other properties before four. Like the difference is gonna be it's gonna be lower, and because
Mm-hmm.
it's lower, some things like we typically like things that sound low. Think about like a really rich, deep like bass vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
true bass singer. It's like how cool and like deep they're like. We like oh that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. I like things that are low.
Mm-hmm.
So
Uh-huh.
so it's gonna have
Uh-huh.
that effect on a lot of stuff. Uh, so yeah.
So what about the thing that got me that hooked me into all this, the woo woo part of it is is around like the mathematical divisions in like the harmonic ratios between the frequency of like it being 432 hertz versus like 8 hertz higher. Like, and the thing I heard, and I have no sources that I can remember to cite
Which
for
is
this.
cool. I don't care.
We're on the internet, so no one's gonna complain about that, I'm sure. But I remember hearing that like the resonant frequency of the Earth is 8 hertz, and when you do the math and multiply it out, 432 is like, and I've honestly never done this math. Before I brought this up, I thought I should probably do this fucking math sometime. I'm about to talk about this on my podcast, and I never actually punched this into a calculator.
It's
So
all
I
good.
read on the internet that the Earth's vibration is 8 hertz and that 432 is divisible by 8. But I didn't use the Google calculator
So
to try and divide it by 8. So the whole thing is that like 432 hertz is harmonically is more harmonious with the earth, ergo us, since we all come from the earth. In the woo woo websites I was reading and watching on YouTube, and that's the thing that I thought was neat and why I wanted to why when I was on Sweetwater's website I bought the tuner that I was able to adjust the hertz
yeah.
with.
So
So is that, do you think there's anything to that, or is that more stuff that we made up
I
to make
mean,
ourselves
it
feel good?
potentially could be if you were to take tuning more seriously, because then, again, with equal temperament, that will mean that your A is in tune with the
Mm-hmm.
Earth or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else isn't because we're 12-tone equal temper. Then the ratios are wonky and off. So if you
Okay.
created a new tuning system that was based on
Okay.
ratios against 8 hertz or what have you,
Uh-huh.
they're not gonna be like, "That's a neat idea." But based on our 12-tone equal temper is
Uh-huh.
like, cool, so the A's there, the rest of them
The rest of
definitely
them
are
are not.
not.
Oh. Okay. So when I tune my guitar to A432 It
You're tapping,
literally
the
just
earth
makes
when you
me
play
feel
the note
better.
A, and then you're severing your connection anytime you play
I play a
another note.
chord.
Not even another chord, because the other
Uh-huh.
notes in that
Yeah,
A
just
chord
the
are
A
not going to be
chord.
whack.
Just so the notes in the
So
A
just
chord,
the note A, not
just the
even,
single note.
yeah, not the chord,
Okay, yeah.
because everything,
Okay,
anything that is not an A was going to be an off ratio.
I gotta use the calculator, I
Which, I
guess.
mean, it'd be really cool to
But
hear,
yeah,
actually, just like all sorts of crazy
huh.
tuning systems all over the world,
Uh-huh.
and stuff that's like its octaves are divided into like five, but they're not equal parts and stuff like that. Uh,
Okay.
and I mean, there's all sorts of really cool, interesting stuff going on there. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear music that was actually, there was an art installment at USF from a while ago. A guy built all of his own instruments. Some were drony, some were more rhythmic, and they were all
Hmm.
based on the ratios of the rhythms of the planet moving around the sun. In which
Oh,
case, the person walking through the exhibit is like the sun, and the other ratios are. So it's like
oh,
impossibly
cool.
long, like rhythmic machines that like it'll be like 2 years before they repeat a rhythm technically,
Wow.
and stuff like that. And it's
Huh.
just like everything was designed around planetary movements, put into music, and he built all these instruments that could perform these tasks basically.
Wow.
So I mean, stuff's out there
Interesting.
that's like that, which is really neat.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, Kyle brought up a guy who did something like that. I can't remember the fellow's name. It wasn't
Parch.
it, Harry Parch was the name that came to mind. Maybe it was him, because you've told me about him before too. You've
Yeah, I
brought
don't
it to
know
me
if he
up in
did separate
conversation.
plans. Kyle's
But
a bit more into him than I am, so he would know.
he said he like had his own musical scale and like made a whole bunch of instruments that could play in that
Oh yeah.
scale. And there's like a museum that has all these instruments he made these days.
So
So,
yeah, reminds me of one of my professors in college. Took a microtone class when he was getting his master's, and the professor was like this buck wild dude. You could like students would come in and be like, okay, I divided the octave into 64 equal parts, and he would play these pieces on basically a bottle, had the bottom cut out, and then a water balloon tied to the bottom of it, because he could get different by squeezing the water balloon. He could get different pitches and like really precise pitches,
oh my
and he would
god.
be like, "Okay, give me like 5 minutes." And he's like, "Okay, I can do that. I can play this and obscene numbers of like or because we think normal microtone like dividing into 24 parts, each one in between is like crazy, and he's like, oh, I can do like an extra four in
My
between,
goodness.
like an accurate. And the thing that's neat about that too, because I haven't done this, but if you train yourself to hear the half sharps and half flats and stuff like
Mm,
that,
mm-hmm,
I mean, obviously your ability to hear things that are in tune gets that
mm-hmm,
much sharper because you are able to hear exactly in
mm,
between as well as exactly on, so your
yeah.
intonation skills get like insane.
Cool. That's interesting. Huh. Okay, that's a lot for me to wrap my mind around. My
There's
woo
this
woo, my hippie spirit is a little dampened, I'll be honest.
it is so it is a drag, right? It is a drag.
But I mean, it's cool to know that it's like, I mean, possible. I'm getting into DJing and like starting thinking about dipping my toes into like music production and like electronic
Oh yeah.
work and like might might be doing like my thought is like I want to find like a tone generator
Hmm.
and just like that I can set to like 432 hertz,
Hmm.
and then if I can like do the math and figure out like what go 8 hertz up and then 8 hertz up or whatever, and
Hmm.
like make the like just record each of those single tones and then start like laying them over top of each other in a DAW
So if you
and
want to
like see
be
if any of them sound good.
you want to be the
If you,
most woo woo, what
yeah,
you
I
could do,
definitely do.
you could do based on I don't know if you'd want to do with Forge because 432 is kind of high. You might want to take an octave lower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
build using tone generator. It'd be easier to do this. Build a true harmonic series. So harmonic series is the um, natural harmonics. Any given sound will start to generate. Any simple sound will start to generate. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
where that's where some of our this is hotly debated. So watch out between three
Mm-hmm.
different scales. What is actually in tune with the harmonic series? The most widely accepted is major. There's an argument for Lydian, and there's like people who are like, no, it's Lydian dominant because math, and we're like, okay, whatever, dude, we don't care. So, but Lydian and major are the two big ones that
Okay.
people will do based on harmonic series, where it's like, no, octave, fifth, I think it's the next octave, and then it's a third, and then another fifth, and then you can look it up, and it keeps getting, and once it gets really, really high, it starts to get microtonal because it goes
Mm-hmm.
through all normal intervals and goes through, like a minor third and stuff starts getting up there the higher and higher it gets. So you can build a proportional harmonic series generator that you can kind of sweep through to express different parts of it, even if you want to be the most woo woo about your
Ah.
432.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I listened to the Mr. Bill podcast, and I heard him talking about how like nowadays when he's making music and like other people in his world are he like encourages people to put the harmonics of the bass, like the higher harmonics
Mm.
of the bass in the song, because so many people are going to be listening on phones that
Oh
if you
yeah, it's been a
just
trick
have the
for a
low
long time. Yeah.
harmonic, if you put like a high harmonic in it, you'll be able to like hear it on the shitty phone speakers, and like a person's brain will just fill in, oh, that's this deep bass that's pounding when it's really like not actually that low. Our brain is just able to be like, oh yeah, that's a cool bass. And so like doing that kind of thing, like having that knowledge, being able to do that in like a live setting or with like higher response higher response speaker system, getting to do like a sweep through like a built harmonic resonant machine. I
Yep.
don't know, would be pretty neat. Like it would, and maybe it'd be possible to like program it into like a MIDI keyboard and to like I
Yeah.
don't know do
Like
set
the.
some modulations, some like automations or something. But okay, that's neat. Holy shit, man! You're you're blowing my mind. Damn. Just thinking about standing in the woods
And in the
as like a
woods.
14-year-old listening to lecture about unified field theory, getting my mind blown. Now, like, here I am. It's like, actually, you got to go way deeper if you want to do it,
No, that's the thing about
which is really
a lot
cool.
of the
That's
woo
really
woo
cool.
internet stuff is like I kind of shake my head sometimes because like you have a cool idea, you just need to read a bit more and take it
Yeah,
further. You know,
yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
um like you're like touching on some interesting stuff. Like find a way. I forget the name of the website, but it used to post. It both used to steal all of the academic papers in the world and put them up online for free.
Oh, cool.
Eh, and I think it
Nice.
stopped. So the most recent stuff, I think it got shut down in like 2018 or something. So it's the most
Uh-huh.
recent stuff. But you have like, and then through the library, I mean, you have access to hundreds of years
Mm-hmm.
of research papers about anything, and you could start diving into any of that stuff to get an extra. And that's what when I think about the woo woo hippy dippy stuff, which I really enjoy, is like I could just be so benefited from taking that one step forward and like
Mm-hmm.
the idea of just like, well, I'm a free thinker. It's like, well, yeah, if you're a free thinker, you should be able to read woo woo stuff and then also turn around and read something in nature. The famous there's a biology that it mostly does,
Mm-hmm.
academic
Mm-hmm.
paper that's been around for hundreds of years now.
Yeah.
So just like you should be reading both of those things. If you're
Mm-hmm.
truly free, you shouldn't shackle yourself to just woo woo, and they'll get that dirty science, get that dirty empirical data out of here. I don't want it. It's
Yeah.
like no, these things can coexist in a
Mhm.
lot of stuff, and sure, it might take some of the magic out of the woo woo hippy dippy stuff, but it can kind of lead you further into the rabbit hole to kind of get your hands on something juicy.
Yeah, yeah, that's like I call that not getting caught up in the lights of the show. Like I
Yeah.
th like I think a lot of people get trapped by that and like I mean I've really noticed it in like spiritual practice and in like Buddhism and stuff. It's talked about like I heard I think it was Ramdas talking about like CDs, like the magical powers that a person can accumulate when like
Oh, right,
trying to
right.
seek enlightenment. And like that's the point he made was those are not and I mean, it wasn't just him that made it first, but he reiterated it that like the powers, the CDs are not the point of the practice. Those are just
Mhm.
like signposts that you're heading in the right direction. And people who like get caught up in like doing miracles, although like you know they can help people and like do great things, people who get caught up in that are like missing the point.
Yeah.
It's like you got to go further, and I think like there's almost a little bit of that in like the woo woo world of like where people get caught up in how nice it is to burn some sage while dancing around their apartment to
Hmm.
a sound bath on YouTube and like then don't actually spend the time to read even the Wikipedia page on like what a hertz frequency even is.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
like that and that would probably benefit me who hasn't done that. Like I didn't use a calculator.
No, because I mean, because then I mean, based on that, I mean, your eyes like I mean, you can really kind of open a lot of information because I mean, hertz, wiggly air, sound, vibrating, energy. It'd be the thing that turns a lot of people off is when you try to learn this information. It's like it's physics the whole time. It's just
Yeah.
been fucking physics, and all physics is just math, and I hate math. So lots of people get turned off, but it's just like it's just oscillation. Basically it's
Mhm,
describing
mhm,
energy in the air oscillating. But then, so like I remember uh, something that people talked about for a while, but finally like somebody like gave a little TED talk about it. It was Adam Neely about how rhythm is a relationship between two things, which is just a really slow oscillation, a relationship, and you
mhm,
speed it up really, really fast and becomes a chord because you vibrate those two fast enough and it stops becoming a rhythm and starts becoming two different hertz frequencies. And then, I mean, this is slightly disconnected because we're no longer talking about sound, but then color comes in,
mhm,
which is just,
mhm.
wiggly light,
Yeah,
coming in at different
yeah.
frequencies and oscillations. And then when you talk about the earth rotating at a certain speed or what have you, of just like you can kind of get real interested in the whole, like, well, everything's oscillations and blah blah blah, and then you
Mhm,
can
mhm.
start, getting into stuff like that. And I'm sure there's plenty of research and stuff out there to, you can really get your woo woo and physics uh,
Yeah,
on at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm reading a book that's sitting right next to you.
The
It's the Mystic, the big one, not that one.
big
Yeah,
one.
that one. It's the mysticism of sound and music. Is that it?
Yep.
And the guy, Hazrat Inyat Khan, he was like a mystic or of some sort, and he talks about how light and sound are the same thing, how they like are they manifest from the same energy and just they manifest in different forms. Like when sound becomes more compact, it becomes light, or the other way around. I can't I don't know a direct quote, but he's like talking about that exact thing. How
Mm-hmm.
like the source of light and sound are vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I think that's an appropriate correlation to make.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So I'm sure a physics person would come in here. So, well, actually, sound when it dissipates, it becomes heat energy, while light when it.
I'm not talking to a physicist, talking to a musician. So stay in your lane, Brandon. Yeah. Said I'd keep you in line
Keep
here.
in line here.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a really powerful correlation, obviously, and it's interesting to think about just how our ears pretty easily our most powerful sense, and people don't
Mhm,
think about it, how incredibly
mhm,
powerful it is. Because I mean, we can hear stuff that happens miles away. We can hear
mhm,
when there's little sound around. We can like literally hear a pin drop. And then at the same time, stuff gets really loud all the time. Our ears are smart enough to turn down the volume and
mhm.
sort of adjust to the world around us. And
Yeah.
like the sensitivity of one's ear is like so insanely in tune and like our equilibrium and balance. Like our ears are just like it's insane how
Mhm.
powerful they are and how
Yeah.
much they can really do and how much they can put up on. Because you think about like something to the theoretical low of hearing 20 hertz or what have you of like that is not a lot of times to move per second. Like
Mhm,
that is
mhm.
almost a rhythm.
Yeah.
We slow it down a bit slower and we start to get rhythm out of it. It's not that much faster than we can hear.
Mhm,
Other things can
mhm.
hear lower and stuff, but like 20 is pretty damn low. And
Yeah.
and our ability to tell what direction stuff comes from and to
Mhm,
recognize our everyone talks about the mind's eye, but you have a mind's ear as well to remember what something sounds like and the
mhm,
tonal
mhm.
quality as well as pitch, and
Yeah.
other languages pitch is a whole part of
Yeah.
language and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's, I mean, and we think how stupid our eyes are
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
unreliable touch is. And
Mhm, mhm.
taste is basically smell, but more uh,
Yeah, glittery smell.
glittery smell and
Wet smell.
wet, got our wet smell going. And then our sniffers aren't too powerful either. So they're just
Yeah,
like,
those are really bad comparison to other animals.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought and seems pretty true to me that hearing is our most finely attuned sense, or at least like the most diverse and like how it functions and like what it's able to pick up.
No, and it doesn't have to do like nearly the mental just math. Like, just now I heard you bracelet wrestle and a car passed by and
Mhm,
there's like somebody blasting a TV show in apartment next to us, maybe it sounds like, because it's this low sound coming. So,
mhm,
and I can tell all that, but when I look at you, I see your face really well. And there's like kind of chair and there's kind of table and there's
yeah.
kind of other stuff. I can tell there's other stuff in the room, but as far as the detail, I can only really truly see your face in detail. And there's all
Mhm,
sorts of those fun peripheral vision tests, like that really old
mhm.
YouTube video that's like count how many times they pass the ball, and like a
Oh
fucking
yeah.
guy in a monkey suit walks by,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Did you see the monkey suit?" And everyone's like, "Nope, I sure didn't. Sure did not see that."
Yeah, I remember watching that on the Science Channel in middle school,
Oh yeah,
just feeling like a doof.
like oh, I counted
Like
my eyes are so
totally,
stupid,
totally missed Sasquatch. Man, just
man,
eat
dude.
Sasquatch. Come on,
Come
eyes.
on, honest. But I mean, your ear picks up so much without you even having to
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah, and like tunes out so much because like you can when you like bring conscious awareness to it, you hear the bracelet in the car and what I believe is an AC unit. Um, but like the eyes, like even now, even when I just was focusing on speaking, my eyes went fucking blank.
They're like, okay, we got to use our brain right now.
Yeah,
Better turn those off.
eyes can't work. That's so funny. Wow. And so musicians are better artists
Yeah,
than
we're
painters.
just better. What
We're
can we
just that
say?
we speak to the human
Unbiased
soul
opinion.
much more directly than visual artists. And so, sorry guys, we
Sorry,
just figured that
guys.
out.
Yeah.
No one can chime in on that. Comments are
Well, I
turned
mean,
off.
this is an objective like fact. So I don't.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
reason to have an opinion
No,
about it.
no conversations are needed to be had after this. So I'm glad of that. Yeah, glad we worked that one. So like, do what are you up to musically these days?
musically these days.
Yeah.
I've kind of pumped the brakes on practicing and stuff, and uh, yeah, I told you I've been writing just a bunch of essays about different things I want to talk about. Yeah, because
That's right. That's right.
yeah, I want to get a little YouTube thing going, just because I really miss teaching a lot. So
Mm.
that'll be my way to kind of scratch that itch, and I also just really enjoy formulating thoughts and putting them down and making revisions and trying to find like what I think is like coherently like a, a good way of explaining something that's also like, hey, this is accessible, like this doesn't have to be crazy or hard, and like also like you don't suck if you don't understand this the first time you hear this,
Mm.
and like trying to be a supportive voice while also trying to like say, hey, like this doesn't have to be complicated, because it's not really complicated. You can make it really complicated if you want, and that's cool if you do, but you don't. It's just like here's all these options that you maybe you didn't know existed musically that are like I think is cool and interesting and like a nice thing to have explained to you, and like a not
Mm.
like here's the coolest, most badass, most extreme, insane music theory thing you've ever heard in your life. It's just like, hey, here's like this neat idea. Like, it's similar to this, and like, this is kind of how it works, and like, let's play around with it a little bit. Like,
Cool.
kind of introducing a more like, that this is supposed to be fun, and like, there is play in the true sense of play,
Mm. Mm.
like that you're supposed to have.
Cool.
And then if you really love it, you can turn it into something serious that you can like really shed and really get good at. But you want to have fun and explore.
Anything you're working on? You got any in the works?
Yeah, I think I have actually about to send. I think I have 8
Cool.
essays done up by now that I'm going to
Nice.
send to a bunch of people. It's like, hey, does this make sense? Of different skill levels and stuff. So like people who I really respect, and then also people who are just like kind of into music, but like don't really know anything theoretical side. Like I'll
Mm.
probably give some to you, just like, hey, like does this make sense to you?
Yeah,
Like
I was expecting that I was going to be on that list.
this,
Good
this
to have
makes
that
sense to you as like
confirmation.
someone who like loves music and does music, but
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily know lots of the technical information involved. Of like,
Yeah.
is this is it just the right amount of drive to drive when
Mm.
supportive, and it'll just be the when I send it, it'll
Cool.
just be the essay as opposed to me actually presenting the information. But
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think it's I don't know, so just like planning stuff and the idea. I mean, teaching in general is just like such a satisfying thing to do, as
Hmm.
far as just being able to describe to somebody, and
Cool.
teaching methodology and stuff like that. I find just like really fascinating stuff to begin with. So this
Yeah.
is like a weird like, but how does one teach the void? How does one teach without
Mm.
true response
Mm.
back and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
I try to cover all the bases, or do I like who's the imaginary person I'm teaching to?
Hmm.
It's,
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. And well, part of the cool part of the internet is like you can put that out there and like it's I think the way that internet education maybe works best and like what I hear you kind of describing is it's going to be like a conversation or like will work best if there is a conversation of some sort at least or at the very least you have a good grasp on how you're going to go at it and I think that sounds really cool.
Because
Yeah.
the aim is like uh somebody no matter age, but like who's I mean essentially somebody like you, where it's like I'm not gonna go crazy high level like I'm gonna explain every detail of uh why Schoenberg thought up his 12-tone system and like what's the math, like none of this like
Mhm.
really crazy of just like though like some of that stuff is a lot more like approachable than people think it is. So I mean I probably will at some point like dive into that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
hey, this sounds complicated, but check it out. It's just like
Yeah.
here's a loose connection of tones. Like let's make them work somehow.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it's essentially, and like there's all sorts. Part of it is just breaking down the jargon, but like someone who's interested in
Yeah.
music uh and just like wants to know more about it from basically intermediate level person in music in general, or just interested. who like plays a bit and like knows what they like, knows what they doesn't like, but like wants to start understanding or like hitting roadblocks and stuff like
Mm.
that. Of just like here's a tool set, because I mean the whole idea of music theory is not like here's how music definitively works, because it hasn't been. People who think that have don't know that the 20th century existed. And yeah, there's my whole rant about like music theory destroys creativity. Of just like, well, you haven't like, where have you been? Like the stuff you think that theory is hasn't existed since fucking Beethoven died, and that happened a while ago. Like the floodgates of like in the 50s, people were playing with tape loops and like orchestrating to and from tape loops and playing with microphone feedback and classical compositions and like writing that into
Wow.
music and like field recordings and like transcribing in the 30s and 40s, transcribing bird songs to clarinet, and like all of this
Wow.
crazy, we aren't just playing four part, the stuff that they think it is because they took the one class in school, which is just theory based on Bach, basically. So they think that's what music theory is, but it's like, oh no, buddy, like strap in. There's a there's a whole lot more out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But they're to get to that point of like even understanding how one would like compose a bird song on a clarinet or like transcribe that.
Mm-hmm.
Like a basic musical understanding is gonna help at least.
Oh, I mean, because that's the cool stuff about a lot of the contemporary stuff is so much of it is immediately accessible. Because you could
Okay.
theoretically sit down, never played a clarinet in your heart before in your entire life, play a bird song on loop for days at a time, and eventually you'll figure out where to put your fingers in the right places to play what that bird's doing. But if you already know how to play clarinet, if you already know how transcribing works, and then the other part is then you who's never played clarinet or played music before, how do then you describe to another person, this is how I did it? Because that's where I mean, because
Yeah,
I don't think reading music is necessarily important, but the communication of idea is
yeah,
what's important.
yeah. Because that's really what it is. Like music is a form of communication.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's something, yeah, something I've been thinking about more is just that. Like, I mean, listening to the Grateful Dead and hearing how Jerry Garcia played guitar.
Oh yeah.
It's like so
Oh, Jerry and Phil,
communicative. Oh
especially
man,
the
yeah.
two of them, especially like like I think their best is probably like 77, 78. I think is when they were really just like
Yeah, really grooving.
you know, playing with each other, playing off each other. There's just that's the stuff, especially between those two.
Yeah, yeah, and there was a I heard BB King say this in a video. It was like a guitar workshop that he did. He was talking about how he plays when he's playing the blues, and he said, first you got to introduce yourself, like, "Hi, I'm BB King. It's nice to meet you." And then after that, you can really go in and tell him what it's like on the streets. And I just like that. I have used that concept when like when like trying to play a solo or playing a lead line. Think like, okay, first like get into it a little bit, introduce yourself. Okay, now I can really tell them what it's like. And just that concept of being able to communicate through it, like I think that is very much I don't know if I don't know how many people realize that is an important part of music, of creating it. Like I don't know how much of the audience like understands consciously that there's like a communication, like an expression. Like I mean like it's people say like art is expression, music's a form of expression, but like it really being like a mode of communication. I don't know how many people like really have that conscious awareness like on an audience level. I think like a good amount do. Like, it's not nobody, but like I wonder how
Yeah.
many do.
No, and I mean, similar to that is, because I've my nerdy music books that I like to read, and Schoenberg, who I mentioned earlier, he's arguably the most important theorist of the 20th century. He's like the 12
Okay.
tone guy, is kind of, which is, well, I have been, brief side notes, hilarious, because he's just like, I've lifted everyone from tonality. Congratulate! I've freed everyone. We can now play whatever notes we want whenever we want to, and it makes sense because I've made it make sense.
Oh my
And then
god.
the immediate movement right after that is like, we're gonna play the same note for 4 hours. And it was the minimalist move it took off, where it's more about texture and more about these long form, like simple, like real drony stuff. So it's like,
Oh my god.
which I mean, totally makes sense because the stuff before Schoenberg and stuff was, a bit more tied up. I mean, there's praise. I mean, he's coming out of the end of Romanticism with Mahler and Debussy and all that sort of stuff. So like they're a little bit out there and they're doing a lot of chromaticism stuff, but it's still very steeped in, the Beethoven, Mozart era type of stuff. And then Schoenberg's like really cranking stuff to the extreme. It's like this slow build up, and then Schoenberg like knocks it into the sky basically. And then right afterwards, they just like tear down all of it and are like, no, we're just gonna play a note for fucking 2 days, and that's gonna be the piece of me. And then John Cage is gonna be like, I'm just not. I'm gonna sit at my piano and do nothing, and that's music now. And then George Crumb comes along, just like, well, I'm gonna make people throw chains inside a piano, and then I mean, it just gets so, and then it just gets crazier and crazier in the
Yeah.
20th century. But Schoenberg, so I'm reading his book about theory, and he has this passage about like basically the argument of should you or should not learn theory. It's like
Okay,
if you
cool.
see a pupil has like a really good ear, should you just let them do whatever their ear tells them to do, because that's like natural. It's like, well, there's a point to that, and like that's a solid argument. But here's my case for why you should learn theory is because sure we're manipulating things that are in the natural world, aka sound, we're manipulating it, but the idea of music is a completely human made construct. We're making art, we're not making more nature, we are making art. So since we've made all of this up, we should probably teach people how this thing we made up works, so then they can be better prepared to make up their own stuff. Because if you're just unaware of all of this and you're just like let loose, like you could stumble upon some cool stuff. Like for sure, absolutely. And you
Yeah.
could do some interesting things, but as long as you can critically think, you're not just like a dumb zombie who does whatever your teacher tells you to do. You'll learn all this information, expand your palate, and then you'll still have your ear you had the whole time
Yeah.
and still be able to
Yeah.
do that stuff you wanted to, except now when you're like, well, I have this thing, but I don't know what to do with it. You can be like, well, I have this thing, I don't know what to do with it, but I can come up with 4 or 5 options for me to try based on this other stuff I've learned.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I was in cosmetology school, my thought was I have to learn how to follow the rules and then I could break them.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
if I can't cut a straight line, I can't do like a proper
Oh, yeah,
like
absolutely.
clipper cut. How am I gonna do some crazy like design with like a weird shaped fade that like looks super cool? Got to learn the basics, and then like after learning the basics, like experimentation is done with wisdom,
Oh,
and it's not
absolutely.
just like wasted time and energy.
Well, and like I said, like you can't think of something that musicians haven't already thought of now.
Yeah.
Like someone has written a paper on it. Whatever you think is original, somebody's art at this point
Nah.
somebody's done
Nah.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So or at least theorized it,
Uh
just like
huh.
that would
Uh
be a
huh.
cool idea. And I
Yeah.
need to get my doctorate in music, so I'm gonna write about this and I'll never think about it again, but I thought of it.
Yeah. And like that kind of takes some of the pressure off. Like just like it's great. It is great to have a vast amount of knowledge, but in the end, it is all made up. And so like
Exactly. It's like relax,
just
buddy.
do
Relax,
it.
buddy. That's what Phil stressed to me when I was taking in his. theory class was really sick because it wasn't traditional at all. It was exactly what I was saying. It's like these are just tools for you to write music with. So everything we're gonna do is gonna be centered around you need to write me a composition using these new tools, and that's the class. It's like when you go to art school, you see art up on all the fucking walls because that's what they're doing all day. You go to music school and it's a bunch of people writing interval relationships on a piece of fucking paper, and like that doesn't make any sense. Like let the people play.
Yeah, yeah, and like that's what I yeah, that's the whole point. And my favorite thing about music is how it like brings people together, and like writing writing intervals on paper doesn't seem like something that's going to be bringing a whole bunch of people together. Not like
Depends how many notes you write. You write down parts for 100 musicians to come together, and then somehow
That's
find a
true.
hundred people to
That's
play your
true.
piece of
That's
music. That's
true.
a lot of people brought together.
Uh-huh.
It's a different type of relationship,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, still a
Yeah.
fun one.
Yeah. Huh. uh, well, Brandon, anything else you want to cover?
Uh, I mean, I have lots to say. So
Well, give us. You said you have 8 essays written.
yes.
Give. Will you give a sneak peek into one of them?
So the first one I wrote was uh, like the case for creating. Basically, is the working title. Just like why
Oh,
even
cool.
create in the first place? Like, what's the point?
Mm,
And just
okay.
like and why do we feel the need to create and stuff like that. And that one's going to be probably a bit longer. That's one that I'm kind of held up on. I already have a lot written, but I want to do more like research with that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I mean that is the crux of the whole thing, and that's music, art. I mean, any one of those things. I'm just like, why is it worth it? Like, what's it gonna be like? It's more just a think piece on just like what it means to be a quote unquote creative or what have you, and that you don't need to be the quote unquote creative to create. Like, it's low pressure. We can just do this for fun, and if you're not having fun, you cannot do it. But you will have fun, trust me. Like, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing that's brought to you may not be the thing you want to do, and you just don't realize you haven't found your thing maybe yet. And there's all sorts of, I don't know, neat historical things that go into that. But that was the first one I started writing, and I'm still doing the one that I finished right before I came here was like a more technical. uh I think the working title was like understanding the music hieroglyphs, because you see people like
Oh
me who
yeah.
write out these crazy things like C major 7, 9 sharp 11,
Oh
flat 30, and
God.
you see
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this looks like hieroglyphs, but trust me, it's not that complicated.
Mhm.
And like something that I need to go back through my other ones now because I realized in that since it was technical from the beginning at a list, I'm working off of these assumptions that you know
Mhm.
what a major scale is, and that each of these I can give a name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and those are that's your
Mhm.
major scale, and you know what a major triad is. You understand those words. If you
Mhm.
understand what those three things are, you can continue,
Carry on.
carry on.
Yeah.
But like
Uh-huh.
trying to get like because I want it to be accessible,
Yeah.
but in
Yeah.
order for it to be accessible, I have to put down like these ground rules of like I am
Mhm. Mhm.
working since I don't see you in this room right now. I
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
know that you know these things, or because I can't just like because I've seen videos like that like on YouTube specifically where it's like I'm gonna teach you literally all of it in one sitting, and it's like
No,
that's not a good way to
it's
do
not
it.
gonna
As
work.
soon as you find out what a third is, if you can even remember what it was, you've already thrown 17,000 pieces of jargon in their
Yeah.
face, and it's like it just becomes so intimidating because it's so much. But I like the idea of breaking down like something that seems really complicated. Is I mean it's not,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
gives you creativity because so example C major 7, 9, 11, 13 literally just describes the major scale. It is all natural notes, nothing special going on, and so C major 7, uh, 9, 11, flat 13 is all the notes in the major scale except your 13, aka the 6. Your A in that case is now A flat. Cool.
hmm
Which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's like a whole different sound. And the
Yeah,
thing you can dip
yeah, it's
into
crazy.
then is like, so I described like the huge, like behemoth looking things. And it's like, well, what do I do when I just see C major? You've given me like 10 options that all say C major at the front before we even get to the seven stuff. Like, if I just see C major, like, what can I do? Any of them that say C major. You have all these options you didn't know you had. Like, you can
hmm
technically play any of these that involve those three notes that are that make up the C
hmm
major chord. As long as you have those three notes in there, you can slide anything in between. So it's like being able to make that really like, oh, wait a second. Like all of these are these things that seem complicated, and like they have these crazy names. So like with the flat 13, that is, uh, that would be harmonic major, which is one of the four parent scales. Well, and you can throw all this jargon and knowledge, but it's not important because all you need to know is the exact same fucking thing as a major scale with one note that's lower. Congratulations, you're doing a
Yeah,
very cool, very quote unquote high level music idea now.
yeah. And like those things are so simple because like a C chord, it does have such a different feeling from a C7. Like
Exactly, and you can
versus like a
choose
minor.
to introduce
Like
those sounds, or you can choose not to. So
yeah.
anything, when whatever chord you're given. So say you're given C major seven, like sharp 11. That's like chord you're given. Like, whoa, what a chord! There's so much going on. Well, you still have two other notes that you can decide to do whatever the hell. You can ignore those other two notes. I'm talking about the 9 and 13 at this point. Your
Mm-hmm.
two and your six, and you can do whatever the hell you want with them. You can exclude them. You can make them both sharp like a crazy person. You can flat one of them. They're literally just there for you to do whatever with because they're not already defined by whatever's playing with you or what the melody is or something like that. Because the important stuff. Most composers and most people who write music will only write down the important stuff, and then the rest is
Mm-hmm.
for you to play with.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that, like with the flat
Yeah.
13, like the reason you'd see that in the thing is because whoever wrote this piece of music really wants to tell you, hey, I think this sound is
Mm-hmm.
really cool and I want you to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Is all they're
Mm-hmm.
saying. And all these other things that are
Yeah.
attached, the
Yeah.
C major, all the other crazy bullshit after that is just like things in the tool belt that is like your major. So major doesn't just mean major scale. You have major sounds that include all these crazy names that sound super intimidating, but it's basically just slight variations on a major scale. But like they're their own sound world basically that you
Yeah.
can kind of dive into. So it's like, which sounds huge and kind of intimidating, but hopefully like exciting. Of just like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that all these quote unquote crazy high level cool music things were like literally just one little note away.
And being able to like yeah, put that connection and like yeah, just yeah, breaking down the hieroglyphs. I I'm looking forward to that one because yeah,
It seems complicated, but and it seems like a crazy calculus problem. But I
I just
promise it's only trying to describe to you up to seven things, up to seven
yeah.
notes.
I saw a meme, a musical meme, and it was like two big, like two fat
Oh,
Mexican
to
guys standing next to each other, and one of them on their chest it was like C major seven slash add nine, and the other one was like E major seven diminished 11. It was like I got it that it was like two chords that like if you know what you're looking at are like the same fucking thing.
oh, just
And,
spelled different.
like
Yeah.
I knew enough to get it, but not enough to understand it.
Right,
And so I
right.
was in this like gray area where I could like laugh at it and also laugh at myself. So I'm interested to read that because then maybe I'll like be able to decipher and
Uh,
differentiate between these two large Mexican men.
maybe. I mean, because
So
then the
so
other half of it is, I mean, you do have to do the legwork to really understand it. You
mm-hmm,
know.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something about teaching in general. Like, I can explain to you until my head
Mm-hmm.
turns blue, but I will never be able to understand for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's on me to like go and put that knowledge into practice when playing guitar.
Yeah, and then
Like
when
actually playing one of those things.
talking about the weird stuff too, like it's cool if you don't like it. Like you don't just because it seems impressive and cool or whatever doesn't mean that necessarily is. Like
Mm-hmm.
just play like this could even just reaffirm how much you just like to play a major scale. If you don't
Yeah.
like all the crazy different stuff, it could just be like, well, that really shows me that like I actually super just love this thing, and it gives you
Mm-hmm.
that more confidence of like
Yeah.
I definitely know what I like. There's no
Mm-hmm.
question. I've explored the other avenues, and I know this is what, and you get to play with so much more confidence because you start to believe your ideas a little bit more. Because I mean, they're just that much more fortified, opposed to like, hey, I like this stuff and it's what I know, but like you're just kind of ignorant to everything else around you. But to go to those other places, experience them, and say, no, like the first thing was cool. It's like gives you that much more, I don't know, satisfaction, gratitude even for
Mm-hmm.
the stuff you know.
Yeah. Well, that to me describes the Grateful Dead quite well. They go out and do spacey, weird shit. I mean, play uh, Milestones. I forget who wrote that. It might be a Miles Davis
It is
tune.
a Miles Davis tune.
Oh, excuse me. I've been sick and I'm like so damn rested. Ugh, I've been over here like trying to not make a show of it. Um, but like now here I am. And so like yeah, I think they played that down at Deer Creek last year. So they'll like do weird spacey, jazzy, experimental, improvisational stuff, but then we'll still do like a classic blues tune or just
Cowboy
like
songs,
yeah,
yeah.
cowboy song. And like to be able to appreciate both and to then like do both is pretty sweet, pretty cool, and like a lot of
Absolutely.
fun. I think it like the wider a person's appreciation of what his of the art that has been made before them, like I think, and this is reiterating a point you just made, like the better their perspective is going to be when going to create stuff. Like you got to know your shit or else you're just going to
No.
be making shit. It's no fun.
And I mean, modern musicians, this guy's a crazy, like avant garde New York guy. You know, makes, crazy squeaky noises on a saxophone type of dude. Uh, and reading his essay about just, music in general. And he said, I don't even know a musician right now. And he wrote this, I think it was the late 90s. I don't even know a musician who couldn't tell me their favorite Tennessee Williams song, their favorite Slayer song, their favorite Dave Liebman song, their favorite, and like keeps going all this like these aren't even related to each other. Like the farthest reaches of all music. They couldn't tell me their favorite 14th century. War and Peace. Really like the palette of people who dedicate their lives to music is so deep, and so incredible, and from people you may not even realize. There's a cute clip that I saw online of George Michael talking about Joy Division and how much he loved Joy Division.
Oh,
You would
cool.
never think that George Michael would like, and this is '80s George Michael. This is Bam George Michael. It's sitting there, and it's like, oh, that last Joy Division album. The B side was just so good, blah blah
Nice.
blah. I'm just like, I don't know that Joy Division is so out there, but it's just like we don't sometimes give people enough credit. They're like, oh yeah, like they love music. They're gonna listen to a lot of
Yeah.
music. Just because they don't make music like Joy Division
Mhm.
that I think is better or whatever doesn't mean that they also don't love Joy
Yeah.
Division.
I was listening to Flea's podcast, and I think he was interviewing Jewel, and in it he said that like just earlier that day he'd been listening to the new Cardi B album, and I was like,
Sick.
Flea's
Cardi B
listening to
is
Cardi
sick.
B, and he said, yeah, and it was great, he loved it. And I was like, fuck yeah, Flea, hell yeah, I want to check that out now.
Controversial opinion. Enjoying things is nice and good.
that
Controversial. I know. Liking
that
things
is
is pretty cool.
after growing up in the 90s and 2000s, it honestly is a controversial opinion to like and enjoy
Yeah.
more than like two and a half things. Like it's kind of crazy. I'm glad that we're getting past that. I'm
Oh,
glad that it's okay for me to enjoy the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Tennessee William and to want to listen to the new Cardi B album.
no, so we
It
should
is
we should
nice.
start gatekeeping liking everything. Then everyone will want to, right?
Yeah,
I don't know how you can keep something that you there are no gates, but we'll find a way.
yeah. We're two smart, intelligent white males.
That's right. If,
There's a
if
way for
anyone's
this.
gonna figure it out, it's gonna be us, right?
Damn straight. Darn tootin'. I'm excited for these essays. I'm excited to read through them. I think it's gonna be really neat. Um, and like it's cool to see like the scene flourishing. Like I feel like the art scene is like really like interconnecting, and like there's a lot of cool people doing cool stuff right now, like on their own and like together, and like all of that's gonna benefit each other. And I think this thing is gonna be like right in that realm. So I'm stoked to get those,
Oh, thank
and I'm
you.
stoked to proofread them for
I
you.
can't wait for tens of people to watch them.
I'll be sending over plenty of notes,
I mean,
for
please
sure.
do absolutely, because particularly you and a couple of my other friends that are more actually the actual demographic, like it'll be the most because it'll be nice to get Phil's opinion or whatever,
Hmm.
who's the freaking virtuoso and knows goddamn
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
which will be really nice to hear his 2 cents, but his it matters less what he
Uh-huh.
thinks. It'll
Uh-huh.
be more important of like, hey, something that like would be interesting to blah blah blah. Here's like there's extra context that you could bring up here that you didn't list. Did you know about this? And I'd be like, maybe like, if I didn't, I'm just like, cool, thanks. Like that's cool to know, and maybe I will, or maybe I did, and I intentionally did not include it because it will confuse everyone.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's exciting. Very sweet. Very sweet. So, is there anything anywhere people can find you?
Um,
I mean, do you have an internet presence? Are you doing
Less and
anything
less
like that?
these days, which is weird
That's
for
what I
wanting to
thought.
start another internet thing. Now that
That's
I've
okay.
slowly drug myself away, more
Hmm.
or less, but. No, not really. You just have to, I would say watch for me in the streets, but I'm not there very often either. So if you happen to be in my backyard, you'll see me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Maybe watering your garden,
It's true often.
hopefully.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
The
it's
summer is hot.
hot and
Hot and dry.
lots of clay in my soil, so I
Oh yeah.
gotta, yeah, it's not great for retaining moisture, so I gotta.
I bet. Yeah, keep that shit wet. Yeah, I gotta go. My garden's a mess right now. I don't want to talk
Sorry
about
for
it.
bringing PTSD right now.
It's on me. Well, this has been cool.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we made this happen. We'll have to do it again sometime. Heck
Absolutely.
yeah. Heck
As,
yeah.
as I'm sure you notice, I can just talk and talk and talk and talk and never stop.
Good about it. So I'm excited to have you on the regular list if someone falls
Or you
through,
say, oh shit,
or
I need something this
or
week.
it's 2 days before and I don't have anything recorded. Brandon, go over tonight.
Uh,
On the
uh,
speed dial.
Say something, give me the Fred, how accurate are they? Tell me.
Just let you tear it to pieces. I love that. I love that. Well, people, get some Indiana tea.
Absolutely, it
Check
was
out
good. I
Tom.
finished mine
Yeah,
like 10 minutes in. It was so good.
that's really good. Yeah, it's the Smooth Criminal is very smooth. The Just a Tad Sweet is just perfectly sweet. So check out Tom at the farmer's market. We got it at the health food shop. I don't know. He's probably selling it other places, but I don't know where. So yeah, and maybe the Dead Man's Dance will play a show sometime. We don't have any on the books.
Why would we do that?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to try and rehearse first,
Good
probably.
luck.
God, maybe, hopefully we can get a garage jam in sometime. Those are fun.
So when this ends, there's a silly because I don't want to speak it into existence for the whole world to hear, but I'll have to let you know
Yeah.
about a maybe project.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's not say anything on record. I've probably
It's not like
already.
you have
I've already
editorial
said.
control,
No. No, can't do any of that. I feel like I've already said too much. I like to do it as raw as possible. Honestly, like when I'm recording the intros and outros, um, the last one, like a firecracker popped off while I was
Oh
recording
yeah, I
it. I
remember
always left
that.
that shit in. I think that's part of the fun. So
I don't know if people need to hear about me playing the pit pants though, but it's up
maybe
to you.
not. Maybe not. It does. I mean, it was the first thing that came to my mind for boring musicians. So, and then
No,
you
you
had a
can
whole
go
bunch to say.
straight raw into the 440, 432 takedown.
No holds bar. Fighting words.
Suplexed it off the top of the cage.
Exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Brandon, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, I was trying to update, try to software update.
So the
Thanks, Brandon, for coming on the podcast and shooting the shit. It was a good time. I feel like I learned something. I've got to put my nose into the Wikipedia pages here soon. So yeah, it's always cool how I get to learn stuff through doing this podcast. I feel like I'm the most fortunate person that is involved in all this. So yeah, thanks, Brandon. Thanks for. Oh my God, my phone's going off right now. This is so unprofessional. My goodness. Let me silence my computer here so this doesn't keep happening. All right, I'm gonna leave that in for sure. Cause why not? Yeah, so come to the night market July 29th. Come to the morning dance at Lakeside July 30th. And take care of yourself. I'm not sure what song I'm gonna play yet. So let me think. Oh, I'm gonna do another song by the Fifth House. That's what they're called. Yeah, the Fifth House. I played one of their songs a couple episodes ago. So let me. I'm gonna just go on Spotify right now and pick the song of theirs that I'm gonna play so that I can record this. Cause I'm gonna tear down my sound equipment right as soon as I'm done, so that I can go set it up to watch some Dead shows. So now I'm just saying all this to stall. So I'm looking at their. Oh, whoa! Holy shit! They released the album. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna play the first song off the album because I don't think they released this as a single. So go check out the new album from the Fifth House. The album's called "We Still Got Space," and this is "I Think I'll Leave You in the Dark." Enjoy, everybody. Our friends was a flag.